I'm Emilia, your host, and this is another episode of PAS Seed Talks podcast. Today I'm here with Neida, a good friend and a part of our community, and today we talk about your life and your profession and so many things. So tell me, who are you and what are you doing here?
So my name is Neida and I am from India. I have been in Spain for the last 3 years now. I'm an architect turned educator, and I started my journey in an NGO, and then I wanted to be a part of the alternative education. So then I came to Germany for my master's, and then I saw through my work in different schools that schools are somehow becoming redundant, and that children are happier in nature, in organic learning, in when they have their will to do something, right? And then perhaps I'm not so much a teacher, but I'm a facilitator of their learning. And that kind of connects to the theory of worldschooling, which is what we are doing here in PAS Coliving, which is we have a world school hub, we call it, which is a place where people come in, families from all over the world, and they can choose to stay a minimum of a week or 4 weeks in a kind of a contained amount of time, and we design experiences for children to pick and choose from, to learn from, to explore, and it's a lot of fun.
Wow, so many things to piggyback on. But let's start with the fact that you're an architect who's now an educator. What happened?
I didn't. My expectations didn't match the reality. Well, I love the design part of it. I love the idea of the architecture and how it impacts design. I mean, yesterday we were at the Guggenheim in Bilbao, and how the museum impacts economy and I mean revitalizes a society around, and all of that is incredible. So for me, that has been very nurturing, and architecture is that side of me which caters to building a better future for generations to come and be in nature, right? Not just against nature. So how can design play a role in revitalizing Mother Earth? But then when I started practicing, I felt like there was this little box where I had to be a draftsman, so to say, and just copy designs from one book to the other, and that was not what I had dreamt of, what I had studied for. So I still have a little bit of the architecture designer left in me, but that's just my own little sacred thing that I enjoy on my own.
Wow.
And I don't work for anybody, but I enjoy design and architecture and building and spaces and how they interact with nature. So.
And how long have you been on this path?
So it's been now 10 years when I shifted into education. But I worked in India in an under-resourced community in the west of India, and that's where it changed my life completely. My understanding of service, of humanity, of what I'm really here to do, my purpose. I found my purpose when I was 25.
Wow,
and
I'm jealous.
It was clearly not architecture, but yeah.
What's your purpose?
My purpose, I think, right now is to grow inwardly, and then continue to bring those insights that I have to children and to the world around them. And to also, one of my big passion is always to create safe spaces for children where they can be children and they don't have to grow up too fast. And that's my purpose, because I didn't have that when I was growing up. So I'm very passionate about having schools that work with children in a very safe way and make them grow into children who are secure and confident in the world, right? And break generational patterns.
Yeah. So what do you think of this whole concept of like one size fits all in education? I hear from what you say that it's not like that.
Yeah.
Why not?
Because we might not fit into each other's clothes, you know. My thoughts will not fit yours, and your opinions will not fit mine, and we have so many different lives, and we grow up in a very unique atmosphere in our families, so we are not the same people, and that's why it doesn't fit. My theory would not fit a class of children who are growing up in their own time, in their own generation, and it's very different to mine. And they come with their own understanding of what the world is, and it's never going to be my ideas on them, because then how do we go forward? How do we build a better world? Like, how did we ever come to this place where we have this understanding of equality? For example, if one woman had not stood up for all the women in the world, right? So I think there are so many movements that have happened, even with the rights of black people. Like, had a woman not gotten up on the bus of white people and challenged that, we would have still been under oppression. But I think there are people in history who have made changes and questioned, why should one theory fit everybody, and why can't we question? And I think that's very important, critical thinking, and for children to feel and think for themselves, and for them to have space to express that, but also be guided.
Yeah, absolutely. I just picked a book from our little library called Education and the Significance of Life. I don't know if you know that, written by an Indian author, but I can't remember the name. But it talks a lot about this, how we tend to just put our kids to school and think like, okay, they become these, like, as efficient as they are, the better. And actually that might take away the idea of serving others, the values of love and caring, and all these like soft values that we have. And then instead of making them even like monsters, because then all the things that we tend to want is money and power.
Correct.
And I can totally see that in the school system here in Europe as well.
Yes.
That it's real. So
and it's worldwide, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Education hasn't been we have smartphones now, but we don't have smart classes. Like, we still are in the same pre-industrial revolution classes where the chalkboard and the teacher is in a front-facing, children are front-facing them, and the teacher is looking at the kids. And that's the setup that we still have in many classes around the world. So if you look at images, like black and white images of classrooms before the 18th century, they still look like that. So education hasn't been updated to what we should be doing now. And
and I guess that's how alternative ways of doing education are appearing, like world school, like we're doing here. Could you tell a little bit more about the concept of world schooling? What is it about?
Sure. So the name itself kind of implies what it is: the world as a school, not the four walls of a classroom, but the world around me, where I am planted at that moment. So I could talk about the world like many miles away from me, but it's not about that. It's about the world right within, like, where I am. So the context, for example, families believe that through travel, through going into different cultures, through immersing with people from those cultures, or gaining experiences like cultural exchange, language exchange, the children can learn a lot more through the experience of it than sitting in a classroom learning math or learning a language, or like a foreign language class, for example. So if you think of a foreign language class in a classroom, what happens is a teacher brings the lesson plans and she teaches them, or they teach them, the children, about how to say, how are you in French, or something like that. And the world schooling community in the world, they believe that they want to take their children, whatever their interests are. Let's say they want to learn French. So why don't we go to France and stay there for a couple of months, and then really just immerse them into the world around them. Go to a restaurant, meet a local, talk to them, find their stories, really get into the flow of the culture, and then immerse yourself into it, and then learn as much as you can. So that will be a life lesson, right? And it's so much more internalized, because while you're learning the language, the children also get to learn, let's say, not just the language, but also mannerisms of the culture, or codes of a culture, or like how to go and order a drink in a restaurant. Math, because they have to do math while exchanging money, right? So a lot of things are happening in an integrated way and not so much isolated, because in the real world, which is after school. We don't live life isolated in a class of 45-minute math or 45, like I don't do that in my life when I grew up, or you're not doing that. We're living life very integrated way, where we learn when we need to learn that. It's also a need to learn basis. So world schooling is kind of like, what do the children need to learn right now in the world where they are? So what we are doing here in Spain and in this particular village is they are learning about the story of the bar, or going to the supermarket, or seeing the horses and seeing the nature around them, learning the unique, like the botany classes are like learning about the plants around them and what is local to this place, right? And they are learning that if there's a stinging nettle that has stung their skin, they don't need to apply medicine. They can actually put a snail on them and it helps the skin calm down. But this is ancestral traditional wisdom that's being imparted into children from New Zealand, like as far as that, right? So there's a union of modern 21st century children with very traditional wisdom that's being passed into the children, but in a very organic way, in a way that's needed and not so much forced. So world schooling is about exploring education where children want to learn and not so much force them to learn something.
Wow. And this is the second time you're doing World School, isn't it?
Yes.
So here in co-living, you're now kicking off with a new project. How do you feel about doing World School? What are the learnings so far?
I mean, there's a lot there. It's incredibly fulfilling, I have to say. It's also challenging sometimes, right?
Of course.
Challenging, I will go with the challenges because I jump into the challenges before I can say anything that is working. But I think is because I see this as a year where I'm experimenting on my own personal, what I'm supposed to be doing, my purpose. And I feel like world schooling comes the closest to it. One reason being that we are not human doings, but we are human beings, right? And world school, it focuses on that. So if a child wants, in a session, the child wants to take a break and has to take a snack before doing anything else, that is prioritized. We're not going to let them not go out, they have the time to listen to their own bodies and their emotions and their feelings. And I know that the world outside is not supporting that. Like if you go to a job, or I mean that's my experience working as an architect, that when I had personal needs or things that I had to do, I had to still prioritize the job, right? And that gets us so disconnected from our basic human essence. But the world school is about honoring children and their feelings and their emotions and their needs, and that in turn also allows me as an adult to take care of myself. Because children learn not through my messages but through my doing, through my being. And they're learning a lot more from what I'm not saying but what I'm modeling. And I think this is what is my biggest achievement in world school, is that I'm finally able to allow myself moments of authentic rest when I need that. And also that means I am more productive with the children, and the children feed off that energy. And we can create something really special every day. But it also doesn't have to be a 9 to 3 day. It can be something that happens for 45 minutes and we really cherish it. And those are probably seeds of transformation. Or for example, another learning that I'm having here is that it takes a community, it takes a village to raise a child. It's never about the one teacher or the one parent or that one family, but how I'm seeing, based on what families are telling me, is that their children feel safe here in the co-living. And that is because there's a lot many adults holding that space, people like you who are here. And let's say a child comes in thirsty or they are crying, there's always somebody else to hold them, and it's never only the parents or the facilitator, right? There are other people, and the child learns from those varied amounts of people different life lessons they need to learn. So it's never about one person, right? And the child's more open, more agile to that kind of a international like setup that we have already here.
Like education in community.
Exactly, which is super enriching for the child and also for parents and the facilitator to just look at the whole thing happening, like just to like kind of hold that space for this to happen. So I would definitely, and I'm very grateful for the community that we have here, because all the structures that we have been able to put in place, children see adults serving the space here, taking care of the space here. So we don't need to again and again keep on reiterating children, take care of your space. They will do it when they of course can, but they do it because they see adults doing it too. So it's not a school where teachers are having to lead by instructions, telling them this is what we do at this hour. That's not what it is. It is about coming together as a community, serving together, because that's what we do. We take care of our space. So it really boils down to a few small but significant principles that we have in the co-living, and then that integrates into the children's learning.
You as an educator, how do you see that? I'm from Finland, and I mean, we have a very modern education system, and
Absolutely,
we're pretty
Finland
proud.
is known for it.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
But a concept like this of education in community is not something that we're very comfortable with, I would say. I'm talking from a very like stereotypical perspective, but what I see, for example, if I were to tell my friends' kids what's the right thing and what's the wrong thing to do, they would snap at me. And I would probably snap at them as well if I had my own kids. So how do you create this community where you have so much trust that someone else who's not actually the parent can really be like, hey, don't do this because you're hurting the other kid? And how, do you have any tips on that? Because I think it's a very, very delicate topic in general.
I didn't know it was a delicate topic.
I mean, like educating someone else's kids.
Okay, yeah, I get
Might be only
what you
in the
mean.
Nordic countries, but
I get what you mean. At the same time, I don't have that sense, because I think it's human. It's a human nature to take care of young ones. Like we see a baby, and it's universal that maybe there are people who might not like babies, but it's a funny example. But what I'm trying to say is that there are some feelings and some wisdom and intuition which is universal, because we are human beings, no matter where we come from. The feeling of keeping a child safe, or reaching out for them to tell them that, hey, don't do this, this is dangerous, or this is harmful for another person. And maybe we are tapping into that within here in the context of co-living, because we are in nature. And I think it's true that when we are going to a school that is a building that's far away from a tree or a nature or a field or a playground, and it just is a concrete block, it is more alienating. And that is, again, my architecture side speaking about things. And versus if you look here, we are much more grounded, and that means we are back to our human essence. And that means children indirectly feel more calm. So there are fewer examples when they are being so naughty or so difficult that everybody has to step in, or it's such a serious issue. But also the other side of this is that there are people who are relaxed enough to look at it and say, hey, we might not be able to do this. Hey, what do you need now? Do you need a hug? Right? But it's the culture of the place also. So it's very contextual. I know that it's not easy for maybe every part of the world to do that right now, or to replicate what we have got right now. But it's also a vision to hold, right? How can we build more community? Even if we are in places where it feels impossible, maybe there is a way to bring common spaces or rituals together, like having tea together, and then just starting friendships, and then let adults make friends with each other, and then children will come together. And then you can create, let's say, a community where it feels like the child is being raised in a village, although they might be in a city. I know it's very naive to me to think that way, that it's possible, but the more I try it, it is true that it can happen, so we have to be positive about it, and I have no other way.
No, I love it. I love it. Like this, maybe, I don't know, the word ancestral keeps on coming to my mind. I don't know, I can see us like 1,000 years ago raising kids like that in a village. And I wish it was like that in the modern society as well. And that's actually why I referred to the Finnish education system and all that, because I feel like it's pretty individualistic, and it's taking more that direction instead of like being more collaborative and really like raising kids
also with
together.
Screens, right? I mean, screens nowadays are the biggest
Yes.
kind of challenge that we have, but we do need them also. I don't like, I'm not invalidating their use, but I think it's so important to take care of our children and the exposure that they have, because that is the one tool that is alienating them from each other, and and it's not natural for children to be hooked onto screens. But here in the co-living, for example, we don't see children being hooked onto screens. They are so much more outside, but they do have maybe their own phones in their homes, but they don't feel the need to be doing that, because by design, it's again in nature. Other children are around them. They want to be hanging out with other children and not so much be stuck to their screen, because let's face it, it's boring. It's not children's nature to be inside the house with a phone. And a lot of schools encouraging that is detrimental to children's development. So this is another thing that modern education is bringing to schools, and I don't think it's helping children's well-being or their growth.
Yeah, I strongly agree, even though I'm definitely not an expert on this, but just seeing what the screens are doing to me, I'm like, would
to
not
me
want
too.
that to my
Exactly. And to an underdeveloped brain, where child's brain is not fully developed, so they are not aware of how much they can use, and then there is of course the light from the screens and all of the other things that can happen anatomically as well. So a lot of concerns there. So
for someone who doesn't have an opportunity like this to go to a world school, what would you tell them, like how to help them in this modern era and this like whole problem with not only with the screens but also the individualistic direction that we're taking, like how to build communities like this outside of world school?
Do what your grandparents were doing, I guess. Go back to, like, maybe talk to them and see what they would have been doing if they didn't have electricity, or if they were living in a time when they didn't have the internet. How did they socialize? How did they look at medicine? How do they look at healing or sickness? What is their version, right? Or even your great grandparents, like really go back to tradition and maybe, and it's very possible that we can bring them back because it was there, right? Like in that particular place, unless of course people have migrated or have gone out of their countries, and then you might have to go out a little bit more and ask your friends, people, or their generational grandparents, that what did they do. So really tap into the wisdom and then try and bring that back, and I don't know, step out of phones, because it's
example has power.
Exactly. Like if adults begin doing that, children will follow, because children are doing what parents will want to do, right? So if you want your child to not be on their phones and screens, then parents will need to stop doing that. They would need to maybe shut the TV down and have a dinner together without screens. They would need to go out shopping together with the kids and not order online all the food that they can get, so little practices to just go out, take more walks, don't use the car if possible, but really connect, right? What were our ancestors doing is the question that comes back to me, and then to really bring that back. And it doesn't take a lot, because we have all those things, we know some of those things, we're practicing that, but maybe in little bubbles. And maybe it's also time to share best practices if it's possible, like reach out, like, oh, how did your grandparents do it, how did my grandparents do it, and then share a dialogue, like start a dialogue, like and it will happen. I think so.
That's so good. I mean, I didn't used to think like this. I was like, okay, we're in the modern society, everything's getting better and better and better all the time, but actually no. Now that I think about it, or like I've been reflecting on this like several years now, that maybe we should just take a few steps back and really like think what is actually important in life and what is the direction we
slow
want
down
to
a
go
little
to.
bit.
Exactly. Slow down.
Yeah.
We're actually here about to start the Awaking Circle today. It just came to my mind of
That's right.
slowing down on Wednesdays. We do like an hour of silence here at PAS Rural Coliving, and you have a lot of experiences on these, don't you?
Well, I have been participating. Yeah, we've been doing different things, hosting as well, these circles. So basically these are meditation circles, but meditation in the sense of silence, right? So we share silence together, and these are very simple. The first hour is silence, the second hour is sharing wisdom from a passage that people read, and then the third hour is offering of a vegetarian meal that has been prepared by the host of the circle. And it's very special because every circle there are new faces, new people, so the constellation keeps changing. So you have always like a different group of people coming to with whom you share energy, you share wisdom, and you share a meal, and it's almost like complete, right? It's the taking care of your head part, which is the intellectual and the wisdom sharing, the heart where you share silence, and the food where it's been made with hands, like very loving hands. So it's like this head, heart, and hands, and the Trinity, Holy Trinity coming together. It started in a home in California, and now it has become a movement where it happens over 100 countries. And hosts decide to open up their homes, their living rooms, and it's as simple as just throwing in a few cushions on the ground, and people coming in and taking that 1 hour a week to themselves. And I think in our fast-paced society, we don't have that luxury of taking 1 hour just not to sleep or not to nap, but to be in community, and to soak off each other's energy and to really just feel that healing space without having the need to do anything or to use words, but just silence and really connect with our breath, which is, I think, something that we often need, but we forget to do. It's as crucial as drinking a glass of water. It's probably the most important, the only thing that we have is our breath. So Awakins have been an amazing tool for us in co-living as well, to create community. I mean, just yesterday we have now 5 co-livers arrive, and I'm really excited. I hope they join, because this is how we welcome people into the fabric, right? And they get a sense of what this place is about.
Totally.
So it's really like, I'm so grateful to this way of doing things, that on Wednesday, which is the midweek, we take a break and we come together for a simple meal to share silence. No conditions, no price, it's all a gift, and the idea is just to keep doing it, right? And that's something that people look forward to. Like, I look forward to, and I know you look forward to it.
I look forward to it. It's the
Every
highlight
Wednesday.
of my week.
Exactly.
If I don't do it, I notice. I can notice that.
So that brings us the energy to also continue doing the work that we do, right?
Yeah, it's a very strong way of building community, because also when we read the passage, I think after that, when you can share really from a very like personal perspective, like what did you think about the text, what memory came to mind, or your like personal reflections, and sometimes we go really deep. Like I've shared very many deep stories here that I wouldn't have thought that I would share, but I feel like I can already trust the people so much, and the atmosphere is so, I don't know, it's beautiful. I feel like I can be vulnerable, even though if there were people that I have never even met before, because like you said, the constellation is always different.
That's it.
But it's really the power of community, yet again. I think it's very important for us. I wanted to ask a little bit about Ubuntu, because tell us, what else do you do in addition to World School?
Yeah, so we, just like PAS Co-Living, Espacio Ubuntu, that is the association, the organization that is a part of like what my partner Josera and so many other people have co-created, is that Ubuntu comes from it's an African word, and it means I am because you are. And the whole basis of this is community. And Ubuntu has a few values, and those are the kind of the pillars to everything else that we do. One of the values is community, the other is generosity, and the third is in the spirit of gift and service, right?
Yeah.
So doing things that have no tangible return, but then they are much more when they come back.
Yeah.
And there are many forms of capital that we talk about in the gift economy sector. So there might be wisdom capital, money capital, society, community, health capital, and we see that all of our projects have to do with something or the other, but all of them come back at one point or the other, right? But it might not just be money that comes back, because it's not a transactional process. So anyway, Ubuntu is connected with many projects, like the worldschool is one, but it's not about the project, but it's how we do the project. So worldschool hubs are all around the world, but we do it in Espacio Ubuntu as a form of gift. So how people, the families that come in, they don't contribute to a fixed price. We have a contribution range, and this means that it's an inclusive model for all kinds of people to come in. So they might not have as much revenue or earning, and they can still afford what we are providing. And the services are the same for everybody. It's based on trust that people know how much they can give, and we are not going to research on how much they earn, because for us it's about building, again, the connection and the community, and that people feel that they are able to come in and access our services. So World School is one of those. Second, we do our pilgrimages to India, but these are like journeys through India into spaces which are either known for social projects and have done very deep, meaningful work in the sphere of social transformation, people and empowering people, right? Or working with under-resourced communities, but from very many long time ahead, like before. And also places of inner pilgrimage, so places which are more sacred. So we take people through a journey which is basically a mix of inner and outer social change. And these are like 21-day pilgrimages, and we have about 15 to 16 people who apply to these pilgrimages. We do it over the summer in India, and it's not that hot because we go to places which are not that hot. India is really big, so we go through the south where it's monsoon at that time, and it's really pleasant. So it's a lot of fun, but a lot of transformation, a lot of undoing that happens there, and I feel unlearning. And people who come to this pilgrimage are also asked to trust us, so we don't actually give them the tour, the itinerary of the trip. We just tell them a day before where we are going, so they don't know where we are going, which is really exciting. So there's an element of surprise and being in the now and here, because you can't really plan, because you have no idea.
Wow.
So that's really fun. And I think that has created or led to a lot of different experiments. For example, one experiment that we did was that we got gifted $500 from this organization in the UK, because they wanted us to do different acts of kindness with people around us.
Oh, that's amazing.
But the one constraint was that we could not give money directly. We have to do something with them or for them or anonymously, but that money has to be used to make someone's day better.
Wow.
And it was such a beautiful experiment, because in those, and $500 means a lot of rupees in India. It translates to a lot of currency. And we divided our group of 15 people into 5, and each one had a facilitator. The groups had names, and we created like these generous like acts of kindness. So for example, we were on a bus journey, and when the bus stopped for a break, a chai break, we just bought chai for everybody, and we just kind of gifted it around, right? And people were like, oh, like what's happening? And then we made friends, and then we were dancing in the bus, right? So it's not just like that one moment, but what that creates, like a ripple of like happiness or something like that, right? And it's hard to kind of say it in words, but it's very profound experiences and beautiful acts of kindness, even to the point where we got it back in the form of gift. The way that what happened was, we were in a very sacred place, and there were monks and sadhus in India, who are basically people who have renounced their lives and they stay on the streets. And we wanted to go out one day to give them some snacks, and we gave snacks, but the idea was not to give them snacks, but to have conversations and connect with them and their lives, and to know about their stories and just hear from them, right? we started to listen to a sadhu's story. And after the story finished, we said, oh, it's getting really late, let's do a closing circle for today's experiment. And as we sat down, there are a lot of mosquitoes in India, and we were just surrounded by a lot of mosquitoes. And this sadhu, who has just a little tiny, like a satchel with him of belongings, and the clothes that he has are on his body, so he doesn't have a lot. He brings 15 incense sticks, which are basically incense to repel mosquitoes.
We would need them
like the flies
right now.
here. Yeah, we need some of this. He brings them and he says, this is for you here. If you're sitting here for the circle, you'll need these because there's a lot of mosquitoes. And that moment for us was incredible, because we felt like, how can we ever give that back? That thoughtfulness that he had, and this man who has really nothing to offer, but he had like an opening of the heart, and that opened our hearts, right? So it was a really like a moved by love moment. So
wow.
Yeah, experiences, just profound. So anyway, that's one. I mean, that's a pilgrimage. And then we do several little experiments like the Awakin circles, Karma Kitchen, and I will not go into detail if there's not enough time, but we have a lot other things as well. We also support people who, for example, we have somebody who is doing audio story books for children, and these are stories to be heard at night.
Wow.
So she uploads all these stories in the Espacio Ubuntu website, and people can make their children listen and calm them down. So it's just an umbrella for many different projects done in the spirit of gift and service. And non-violence.
Love to chat with you the entire night and ask so many questions, but we have the waking circle starting.
That's right
now. But just want to say that you're doing an amazing job, and I can really see how you're impacting not just your square meter, the Thero square meter that we tend to talk here, but a lot wider space. So it's really inspiring to see that.
Thank you.
Tell to people, how can we find you? If someone wants to go to India, or if someone wants to join World School, how can we find you?
You can find us on Espacio Ubuntu website. So it's www.espacioubuntu.org, I think. But I can also look it up again and I can tell you. And we have an Instagram channel, and maybe you can put it down in the link. And we have, I think, a Facebook channel, Facebook group as well, which is the Ubuntu worldschool. So that's something that we can also look it up. And you're also, of course, you can also put just my name, and people can do my email ID. And we're around. You can also find me in PAS Coliving.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for the interview, Neida.
Thank you, Emmy.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Emmy. I enjoyed it a lot.